Hush, little baby, don't say a word.
This is a conspiracy channel.
Welcome to the Hush Channel.
It's 1904 in Key West, Florida. The afternoon light drifts through the palms as a carriage stops in front of the Otto family home on Eaton Street. Stepping out is Dr. Joseph Otto, a respected physician known throughout the island for his calm bedside manner and years of devoted medical service. He's just returned from one of his regular trips to Germany, where he often visits relatives and maintains contact with his colleagues in the European medical community. Each journey home, he brings small gifts, reminders of his roots, tokens from the old country meant for his family. This time, his gift is unusual. Packed carefully in his luggage is a large handcrafted doll made by the Steiff Company, the German manufacturer celebrated for their mohair teddy bears and intricate display figures. The doll is extraordinary in size, almost as tall as Jean himself. Its limbs are packed with straw, its body firm and heavy. Its face is painted with delicate precision, rosy cheeks, wide button eyes, and lips curved into the faintest, knowing smile. The craftsmanship is remarkable, more like a work of art than a toy, and its dark sailor suit and cap give it the appearance of a small companion rather than a plaything. Dr. Otto presents it proudly to his grandson, telling him it's a keepsake from Germany. Jean beams, immediately fascinated. He names the doll Robert after himself and carries it everywhere. His parents, Thomas and Minnie Otto, watch with gentle amusement as Jean sets the doll beside him at meals and whispers to it during playtime. To the family, it's simply a child's treasure. A fine gift from a beloved grandfather. Nothing more. Dr. Otto resumes his medical work in Key West, tending to families from sunrise to sunset, making house calls across the island. When he passes away a few years later, the local papers remember him as a kind and steady doctor who dedicated his life to helping others. The doll remains in the Otto household, an heirloom from Germany, a symbol of affection between grandfather and grandson, sitting quietly among the other keepsakes of a happy home. But as the years pass, something begins to change. Jean, now a little older, starts insisting that Robert the doll can talk. At first it's cute, a child's imagination. His parents humor him, hearing muffled conversations through the door. Jean's small voice, and another voice answering. Lower, unfamiliar. At night, toys move. Chairs scrape against the floor. Neighbors walking by the Otto house hear giggling from upstairs when no one is home. Minnie Otto scolds Jean for the messes, overturned furniture, broken dishes, scattered toys. But Jean insists he didn't do it. He says, Robert did. Soon servants whisper that they hear footsteps in the attic when the family sleeps. Some say the doll's expression changes from day to day. One morning, Minnie finds Jean locked in his room, trembling on the bed. The furniture is overturned, the sheets twisted, and the boy is staring at the doll sitting upright in the corner. When she asks what happened, Jean whispers only one thing. Robert was angry. Years later, Jean grows up, studies art, and inherits the family home after his parents' deaths. He returns to Key West with his wife, Annette, and the doll that never left him. Annette doesn't like Robert. She hears footsteps in the attic, laughter late at night, the sound of small feet pacing the boards above their bedroom. Sometimes the attic door stands open in the morning when she swears she closed it before bed. Visitors to the house say they hear a child's voice echoing faintly through the halls, or catch the glimpse of a small figure watching from an upstairs window. Jean keeps the doll in a special chair by the window, claiming it brings him inspiration for his paintings. When Jean dies in 1974, Annette leaves the doll locked in the attic. She never goes back upstairs again. Years later, new owners move into the old Otto house, and the noises start again. Footsteps, laughter, doors opening by themselves. The new family finally donates the doll to the East Martello Museum in Key West, where it still sits today, encased behind glass, dressed in its sailor suit, clutching a small toy lion. Visitors swear its expression changes. Some say their cameras fail when they try to take a photo without asking permission. Others report car accidents or illnesses after mocking the doll. The museum now displays hundreds of apology letters from people who believe they've been cursed by Robert. And there's one more name, Emmeline Abbott, the Bahamian servant once employed by the Otto family. Local law says she disliked the way young Jean treated her, and that she may have made the doll for him, or cursed it out of spite. While the truth of that is uncertain, records show she remained with the Ottos for years before filing a legal claim against the estate of Dr. Thomas Otto in 1924. No one knows exactly what that claim was for. She died a year later and was buried near the family's plot, her grave unmarked. Today, Robert the doll still sits at the museum, watching, silent, behind his glass case. His smile never changes, but everyone who meets his eyes says they feel it. That sense that he's waiting. It's 1918 in northern Japan. The winter air over Sapporo, the capital of Hokkaido, is sharp and clean, the kind that carries the faint scent of pine and the far-off crash of the sea. This region, still being modernized in the early 20th century, is known for its quiet villages and fishing communities where Shinto shrines nestle between snowdrifts and family bonds run deep. Inside one small wooden home, a young man named Eikichi Suzuki is preparing to return from a trip to the city. Eikichi is an ordinary merchant's son, 20-something, polite, hard-working, a young man from a modest family who occasionally travels to Sapporo to sell goods and bring back gifts for his loved ones. He's looking for something special for his little sister, Okiku, who has just turned 2. He wanders through the busy market stalls where traders call out their prices and children chase one another through the snow. That's when he sees it. A beautiful Ichimatsu doll, sitting in the window of a small toy shop. Ichimatsu dolls were popular in Japan at the time, named after an Edo period kabuki actor, Sanogawa Ichimatsu, whose childlike features inspired the design. These dolls were made with porcelain heads, glass eyes, and human-like proportions. They weren't playthings in the Western sense. They were cherished cultural objects, often gifted as symbols of love, good fortune, or remembrance. Eikichi buys the doll. It's about 16 inches tall, dressed in a crimson kimono of fine silk, with straight black hair cut neatly in the Okappa style. A traditional bob worn by young girls, with short, even sides and bangs just above the eyebrows. The Okappa haircut was seen as a mark of childhood innocence in early 20th century Japan, a simple, neat style that parents adored. Eikichi wraps the doll carefully, takes the train home through the snow, and presents it to his sister. Okiku's eyes light up. She loves it instantly. She names the doll after herself, Okiku, and from that day on, she never lets it out of her sight. She feeds it, sings to it, and carries it everywhere, the two of them inseparable. But only a year later, tragedy strikes. Okiku falls ill, a sudden high fever, likely pneumonia, which was still often fatal in rural Japan. The family prays at their local shrine, calls for healers, but nothing helps. Within days, she's gone. The Suzuki family is devastated. In their grief, they build a small butsudan, a home altar, to honor her spirit. They place her favorite doll on it, setting incense and flowers beside it, believing her soul can visit through these offerings. Months pass. Seasons turn. And then, something strange begins to happen. Over the months, a peculiar change becomes impossible to ignore. The doll's hair, once neatly cut in an okappa style just below the ears, begins to lengthen. At first, it barely reaches her shoulders, but within a year, the strands brush past her waist. Some reports say that while housed later in the temple, the hair eventually stretched to knee length, an astonishing increase from its original cut. Each year, on the anniversary of the little girl's death, the monks at Manenji Temple cut the hair back. They perform the trimming in a quiet ritual, believing they are honoring the spirit within and keeping the growth in check. Legend has it that some priests have received dreams, voices whispering pleas to trim the hair or to care for the doll gently. And despite heavy trimming, the length always returns. When scientists later examined strands of the hair, they confirmed it was human, though the source and continued growth defied explanation. In some accounts, when the Suzuki family visited years later, they found the hair had grown even longer, reaching the doll's waist by then. Rumors persist that the temple forbids disassembling the doll to test its mechanisms, fearing it could disturb the spirit. Over decades, visitors claim to spot subtle changes, the doll's lips parting slightly, or the suggestion of baby teeth, or her expression shifting when no one is watching. Yet on stormy nights, the monks say they sometimes hear faint laughter in the halls, the sound of a child's feet padding softly across the tatami mats. Today, Okiku the doll still stands in Manenji Temple in Iwamizawa, Japan. Her hair, now shoulder-length again, is trimmed yearly by the monks on the anniversary of the real Okiku's death. To the outside world, she's just porcelain and silk. To those who bow before her, she's a reminder that love, even lost too soon, can sometimes find a way to stay behind. And if you listen closely, they say, you might still hear a little girl's voice, just beyond the glass. It's 1970 in Hartford, Connecticut. The air smells faintly of rain and summer grass. Two young women, Donna and Angie, share a small apartment near the nursing school where they study. Their days are long, full of shifts, lectures, and laughter. One afternoon, Donna's mother visits. She carries a box tied with ribbon, smiling as she sets it down on the kitchen table. "It reminded me of you," she says. Inside is a Raggedy Ann doll, 3 feet tall, bright red yarn hair, triangle nose, black stitched smile, soft cotton dress, a familiar American toy from childhood. They laugh. The doll is harmless, almost silly, and it soon becomes part of the apartment's decor, sitting on a chair in Donna's bedroom. When they have friends over, people joke about it, an oversized childhood relic watching from the corner. But within a few weeks, small things begin to change. The doll's arms seem to move. Sometimes it leans to one side. At first, they think it's just falling over naturally. Then it starts appearing in different rooms altogether. Donna swears she left it on her bed, only to find it kneeling on the couch. Angie insists she didn't touch it. They both start to feel watched, even when alone. One day they come home to find the doll standing upright against the wall by the front door. It's balancing perfectly, unsupported. They stare at it in silence. Days later they begin finding small notes on parchment paper, scraps they've never owned, written in childish handwriting. 2 words appear again and again. Help me. Donna starts dreaming of the doll, standing at the foot of her bed, its yarn hair rustling like it's breathing. Angie wakes in the night to the sound of movement, soft fabric brushing the floor. Then their friend Lou enters the picture. Lou visits often. He doesn't like the doll. Every time he looks at it, he feels a wave of dread, a pressure in his chest.
He warns Donna to get rid of it. One night, Lou wakes from a deep sleep, unable to move. His eyes open just enough to see something standing by his bed. The doll. It climbs up slowly, its soft hands pressing on his chest until he can't breathe. When he finally wakes, it's gone, but red scratches mark his torso. Deep, burning, then vanish 2 days later. Terrified, Donna contacts a medium. The woman performs a seance and claims the doll is inhabited by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, who once lived on the property before the apartments were built. She says the child felt love from Donna and Angie, that she only wanted to stay close to them. Moved by sympathy, the women agree to let Annabelle remain. That decision changes everything. Soon after, the activity intensifies. Lou hears footsteps in the empty apartment. Doors slam. The doll is found lying face down in different rooms. One afternoon, Lou enters the apartment alone. The place is silent. He walks toward the bedroom and freezes. The doll is sitting in a chair near the door. He steps closer. Suddenly, something slashes across his chest. 7 claw marks appear, 3 vertical, 4 horizontal, bleeding through his shirt. He stumbles back, gasping. Within hours, the wounds fade. That's when Donna and Angie call a priest. He listens, uneasy, then refers them to 2 names already whispered across New England for their investigations into the paranormal: Ed and Lorraine Warren. By now, the 1970, the Warrens are not just names, they're a phenomenon. Ed Warren, born in Bridgeport, Connecticut in 1926, was raised in a Catholic home where he claimed to see shadows and strange lights as a boy. His wife, Lorraine Moran Warren, born in 1927, said she could sense auras and foresee events since childhood. They met as teenagers during World War II, Lorraine 16, Ed 17, and married in 1945. Ed became an artist, painting old New England houses, while Lorraine joined him on the road. They began investigating hauntings simply by knocking on doors of homes rumored to be haunted, offering to paint them in exchange for the story behind the mystery. By 1952, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, and for decades worked closely with priests and the church. They investigated thousands of cases and slowly assembled a collection of cursed relics locked away in their Monroe, Connecticut home, a place they called the Occult Museum. When the priest mentions Annabelle, he knows exactly who to call. When the Warrens arrive, they inspect the apartment carefully. Ed observes the placement of objects. Lorraine closes her eyes and concentrates. After a long silence, Lorraine speaks. "It's not a little girl. It never was." They explain that the entity attached to the doll was inhuman, a demonic presence posing as a child to gain trust. It didn't want affection. It wanted permission.
to move beyond the doll and into the people around it. The Warrens perform a series of prayers and blessings, assisted by Father Cook, an Episcopal priest. When it's done, they take the doll with them, locking it inside their car. But even during the drive, the car stalls repeatedly. The steering locks, the brakes fail. Ed sprinkles holy water on the doll. The disturbances stop. At the Warrens' home in Monroe, Connecticut, the doll is placed in their occult museum, a private collection of haunted artifacts. It's locked in a wooden and glass case bearing a bold sign, "Warning, positively do not open." Over the years, visitors who mocked or touched the glass reported accidents afterward. A motorcyclist who crashed leaving the museum. A man who laughed at the warning sign only to lose control of his car minutes later. To skeptics, it's folklore. To the Warrens, it's proof that evil can disguise itself in the most innocent of forms. And today, Annabelle still sits behind that glass, motionless, smiling faintly, her yarn hair bright beneath the museum lights. She doesn't move, she doesn't speak, but everyone who stands in front of her feels it, that faint pulse in the air, that quiet pressure in the chest, like something waiting to be invited back in. And then comes the year 2025.
Why the fuck I just see the Annabelle doll is missing again? Somebody need to go find that bitch for real. I'm tired of her ass. No, for real. On some real shit though, I could have sworn I just seen, like at the beginning of the summer, that a nigga died because he was the new owner of the doll or something and he took that shit. Correct me if I'm wrong, for real. Did that happen for real? Is she missing for real? And where do she be going? She probably got a sneaky leak or something. I don't know.
So we're all finding out that 2025 is the F around and find out year because y'all made sure that Annabelle, this cursed doll, not the movie, even though this is modeled off of the movie, this doll is the movie Annabelle. But this doll, the Raggedy Ann version, is the real cursed Annabelle that should not have been taken out the box. But whoever in the marketing department, maybe for the movie, decided that, hey, we're going to take this on a ghost tour, all right? And we're gonna charge people $60 to take pictures with her. They took it to New Orleans, right? And the next day, this happened. So that cursed doll, which is not supposed to be moved, not supposed to be taken out the box, supposed to just leave her alone. Just let her be in her little resting place. Y'all took her little energy, shook her up. Now y'all making money and y'all profiting off this cursed doll. This cursed doll got pissed, and I believe she was like, all right, I'm about to piss y'all off. And guess what she did? She released some souls. And I believe she released some souls right up here at the Nottoway Plantation, okay? And this happened the very next day she was in the city of New Orleans, okay? That's some powerful stuff. What did we learn? F around and find out. Stop playing with cursed items. I don't care if it's for a movie promo. I don't care if it's for, ooh, spooky ghost tours. No, leave things alone. But you know what? I take it back. She released some souls because, again, my video went viral because we seen some spirits in here. And maybe it was some spirits that needed to be released. There were some enslaved people. All plantations are cursed, but this was the largest plantation, sugar plantation in the South. Some horrible things went down. A lot of people never got paid. A lot of families got tormented because of this plantation so that people can get wealthy. So if it took 166 years for a cursed doll spirit and her energy to be in that city for this to happen, shout out to Annabelle. You did your big one. You did your big one. You want to do it again? Do you want to do it again? Where should she go next? Where's her next tour? Y'all tell me. Where do you think she should go next? Because one little doll can do this with one day of being in the city. She has plenty of places she can go.
As most of you know, Annabelle is currently on tour all over the US for her display for everyone to see. However, I just received a true story testimonial from somebody that went to see Annabelle and ended up getting bite marks and bruises on her body. We need to start taking this seriously, but here's her story. And let me tell you, it is just insane. The story comes to us from Miss Katrina. She is over on Instagram. Go ahead and give her a follow. She's a makeup artist and she works on movie sets. And she also loves all things horror. Back in 2019, Katrina attended a dinner where they held Annabelle and many haunted artifacts. This is the waiver that she had to sign before going in. I'll move out of the way. So this was 2019, the year after Miss Lorraine Warren passed away. At that point, after Lorraine's passing, they wouldn't let anybody tour her home. However, they would have dinners and these little meetups close by, where they would display haunted artifacts and of course including Miss Annabelle. So Katrina is at this dinner and finally gets up to seeing Annabelle, and this is the photo that she took. Katrina told me she was extremely respectful the entire tour and even had holy water, etc. sprinkled on her, and also said some white prayers of protection and blessings. However, Katrina still ended up with these weird marks on her body, including this bite mark on her arm and these weird bruises on her leg shortly after seeing the Annabelle doll. And again, she was completely respectful to Annabelle and everything around her, but still managed to receive those on her body. Alongside Annabelle, there was this statue that was used for demonic rituals. This is pretty intense. Here is a photo of that statue. I have to say, that's pretty scary. There was also this haunted doll in a glass case, which apparently this doll supposedly kills you in your dreams. No thank you. So folks, the point I'm trying to make here is, let's not pretend that this is some sideshow attraction. She needs to be taken seriously. She is evil, and she causes bad things to happen. I don't care what anybody says. We even have a true story right here. And I know many of you will probably ignore this and probably go see her anyway. That's fine. I know I'll be staying far away. If you have seen Annabelle on the tour and experienced anything weird or scary, please go ahead and email me. My email is in my bio. I would love to hear your story and share it with others. Follow for all things horror if you're new here, and remember to like, favorite, repost, and follow for all things horror. This fucking evil bitch behind me, the Annabelle doll, she's been in New Orleans no more than 48 hours. And guys, you tell me evil isn't real? Well, I'm about to tell you something that might change your mind about that. A massive fire has completely destroyed one of the US's most historical, if not the most historical plantations in Louisiana. This is the Nottoway Plantation, located in White Castle. Investigators are still trying to figure out what might have caused the fire, but you and I know the truth. Oh, and let's not forget that not 10, but 11 inmates, one of them is not pictured here, escaped from one of the prisons in New Orleans. Here's a picture of the cell that they escaped from, and here's another picture as well. Now, those of you that don't believe in evil might say that this is all just coincidence, but I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you that I do think that this doll is extremely evil and powerful, and I do think that her being there has caused all these crazy incidents to happen. Let me know your feedback in the comments, and follow for all things horror, and be safe.
Horror movies that were really cursed, part 3. Annabelle. After the movie's release, there were reports of strange occurrences surrounding the doll. Several people who have visited the real-life museum where the doll is kept reported experiencing strange occurrences, including feeling as if they're being watched or experiencing feelings of unease. During the filming, actress Annabelle Wallis, who played the lead character, claimed to have woken up in the middle of the night with mysterious scratches on her body. And on set, there were objects that would move on their own, and there would be strange noises as well. Follow for the next movie.
I met the Annabelle doll, and I want to talk about it because while not much happened to me there, since I left, everything technological involving her has been going weird. So I have stuff to show you. Let's get into it. So I attended Scarefest and I had a media badge, so I got in a few hours early, which means I got into the Warren Occult Museum portion early. In fact, I was the only one in there looking at the objects for quite a while, and I stayed in there for about an hour. I think that was a really cool experience because I feel like I got to experience her without other energies in the room, at least other energies other than the other objects. And we will talk about those because there were several objects. I will say, from Annabelle herself, I really felt more sadness than anything. I didn't feel anything malicious or anything like that. She seemed sad, but powerful. This is not a doll to underestimate by any means, even though I'm saying that she didn't feel evil or anything like that. I will say I did see her move. My husband took a video at the same time. I feel like you can kind of see it, but it wasn't capturing exactly what I was seeing because she looked like she was vibrating. It was like her head was doing this ever so slightly, and it kept happening, but it's like I was the only one seeing it. loved her. It was so cool meeting her. 10 out of 10 experience. Now, the other objects in the room, a few of them I really didn't feel anything on, but the shadow doll was one that I did feel something on, and that was one I feel like she needed to be in the box. Like, Annabelle, I'm like, I don't know if that's all necessary, if I was reading right, but the shadow doll, she had a lot going on. There was a lot of cool objects in there. It was really cool seeing a keychain that they got from the Amityville house. And there was all kinds of really neat things in there. But they also had the mirror that inspired the latest Conjuring movie, and that was really cool to see.
Yes. Let me just get a good shot of it first. And I'm gonna take a picture of this.
Also, the crew there that I talked to, really nice. I talked to Ron Buell for a really long time. He was the sweetest person ever. It's great when people you admire end up being really nice to you. And he literally just stood around and talked to me forever, answered my questions about Annabelle, told me stories. He was fantastic. But now let's talk a bit about what has happened to me since I've left, because stuff is going on and it's always centered around my Annabelle footage. In fact, this is the second time I filmed this video. Everything glitched the second I started talking about Annabelle the first time, and I had to go back and retry. And I will insert that clip here from her. There was nothing malicious, at least towards me, that I felt from that doll. Now there was So, two things technologically went wrong to me while I was editing the footage. So, I did one edit of just the Warren Occult Museum, and then I did another walkthrough of Scarefest. But in the Scarefest, I also included the Warren Occult Museum. So, it was glitching so bad that I could not use it. And I tried editing on 2 different apps. I had to stop editing. The next one, I had 16 minutes of Scarefest footage that I was editing down into clips. For some reason, it multiplied into 360 minutes. And I have no idea why that happened. It deleted all of the progress because I was pretty much done. Deleted all that, put it back to the regular, and 360 minutes. Don't know if that number is significant to anything, but it did do that. So, while I say I don't believe Annabelle's malicious, I think Girly is powerful. She is very powerful. A lot of the objects in that room were powerful, especially that shadow doll. That shadow dolls, I want a movie on the shadow doll because she's got some stuff going on. So you're seeing this on October 18th on Saturday night, which means you still have tomorrow to attend Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky, and I think you should, because I honestly don't think they'll be doing these tours anymore with these objects. So go see Annabelle while you can. Scarefest was incredible. I'm going to be uploading a little walkthrough vlog of that tomorrow. 10 out of 10 recommend, and I fully recommend visiting the Warren Occult Museum. Talk to the people there. They're so sweet. They'll answer any questions you have.
Ed, would you want to just tell a little bit about some of the things perhaps that are in that museum that are really fascinating, scary things perhaps that you've collected over the years?
All right, I think one of the most famous would be Annabelle. This is a Raggedy Ann doll that's made like thousands of other dolls, except that this doll was used in communication, almost like having a seance. A nurse had received the doll 1971 as a present, a Christmas present from her mother. And the doll stands about 3 foot high, and she would take it to bed with her at night. That's common enough for girls to do. I take a pillow. Some people take a doll. Girls would like that, even 28-year-old ones. And after a few nights, she lived with another girl who was a nurse, both of them St. Hartford, or Hartford Hospital.
Yeah, it was Hartford Hospital. Honey.
And they were on the same shift, and so they worked together, they lived together, they shared the expenses. And one morning she got this idea to bring the doll from the bedroom into the kitchen where they were having breakfast, and she put it in a chair. And she said, "Oh, Raggedy Ann here's going to have breakfast with us today," joking around. Okay, well, that was a joke. Then, the next thing...
Bless you.
The next thing, she brought it down again the next morning, and the next morning. But the third morning, they're talking to the doll, and the arms of the doll are on the chair like this. Suddenly, they went up and onto the table. Now, this didn't frighten them. This intrigued them, to the extent that the one nurse said to the other one of the nurses knows a medium. Let's ask her about this. I'll bet you there's a spirit in that doll. That's what they did. They asked this nurse about it, and she said, yeah. She said, I know a woman who is a medium. I'll bring her over, and we'll hold a seance. It was a joke, just a game. But it didn't turn out to be a game. It turned out to be one of the most horrifying experiences they'd ever have in their life. Mm-hmm. And I've talked with people just recently, as recent as 2 months ago, who know the two nurses. And even today, they don't like to talk about it. They'll never come to our lectures. They don't want to talk about Raggedy Ann, Annabelle at all. So now the woman held a seance, and she said, there's a spirit of a 6-year-old girl in that doll who was killed in an automobile accident just outside of your apartment house here. Well, there was a 6-year-old child by the name of Annabelle who was killed. But God does not allow the spirit of a child to go into a doll. This was a demon who was posing as that little child to create sympathy to these two young women, which it did. Now this was no longer a doll. This was a child. They would take it for rides. They'd talk to it. Mm-hmm. They'd buy clothing for it, jewelry. They treated it just as though it was that little girl who was killed, Annabelle. Now they were giving it a lot of recognition. Soon after the first seance, things would happen in their house. What we refer to as infestation. There would be knocking sounds. They'd see flashing lights in their bedroom at night, shooting across the room. The bed would shake a little bit. It would get icy cold. They'd hear whispering, which we call magic whispering. Now, from time to time, these girls would change shifts. But they were getting a little scared now. So they decided to stay on the same shift all the time, 4 to 12. They'd leave the doll in the bedroom. They'd come home after midnight, put the key in the door, unlock the door, and who do you think is standing there? The Raggedy Ann doll.
Standing there.
Now that doll has flimsy legs. If you try to stand it up, you can't. But I've seen that doll stand. I've seen a lot of things happen around that doll. Well, this still didn't scare them. But one of the fiancés of one of the girls was against all of this. He said, burn the doll, throw it away, get rid of it. It's evil. Well, he falls asleep one afternoon, a Saturday. And the doll is in a chair not far from him. And the girls are cleaning up the apartment. Mm-hmm. He wakes up with a start. He said, my God, what a nightmare. He said, I dreamt that doll was strangling me. He had marks on his throat. Was it psychosomatic? Well, let's see. He gets up, he looks at the doll in the chair, picks it up, and throws it right across the room. You're nothing but a rag doll. You couldn't hurt anyone. With that, Tony, 7 psychic slashes appear on his body. Wow. Now, we've seen these kind of slashes. We've filmed them. These slashes come from nowheres. The blood came right through his shirt. The nurses witnessed this. Then, a huge chair rolled across the room. Pictures on the walls came off, started smashing and breaking. Loud pounding sounds. Now they were all frightened. They called the High Episcopal Canon in Hartford, Connecticut. He called Father Richard Nolan, an exorcist, and Father Nolan called us. We went to the apartment. Exorcism was performed immediately over the people, the 3 people, and the apartment. I brought that doll back to my museum. Now, why would I have something like that in a museum? Evidence, proof. The skeptics, the atheists, the first thing they attack you with is, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? This never happened. I not only have the doll, I have film, I have recordings, I have eyewitness accounts from credible people who have seen these phenomena happen in and around that doll. A priest comes to my home one day, young fella, has his rectory right here in Connecticut. Ed, I'd like to take you and Lorraine for a ride in my new car. I'm very proud of it. We went with him. When he took us back, he said, what about this doll everybody's talking about? Because we had shown it on Channel 18, on a TV show we're on. Could I see it? I understand it puts slashes on people. I brought him into the museum. It's in a chair. He looks at it, just like the guy in Hartford. He walks right over to it, never said a word, picked it up and threw it right across the room. God is more powerful than a devil. I said, yes, Father. God is more powerful than millions of devils. But he wasn't. He found that out. Less than an hour later, driving home on Route 84, his brand new car went out of control. I know what he's talking about because the same thing happened to Lorraine and I when we talked about Amityville one time on Route 84. You can't control the car. Half of his car was sheared off by a tractor-trailer truck. He should have been killed, but he lived. God will only let the devil go so far. The last thing he remembered seeing was the image of that doll. Well, then a detective comes to our house. We're working on the murder of a little child. Lorraine often helps the police through her clairvoyance. I through my knowledge of ritual magic murders. After we were through, he said, Ed, can I go out to the museum there and look around? Sure, I brought him out. Now this is a homicide detective. You were a cop. These guys are tough guys. They're used to seeing crazy sights, right? He looks around and he said, you know, of all the things in this building here, that doll there, I can't take my eyes off of it, the Raggedy Ann. It was still in the chair. Just then, the phone rang. It was a personal call. I told him I'd be right back, not to touch anything in that building. Everything in there was unholy, unblessed.
Right.
Well, I'm up there talking on the phone. I wasn't even there 10 minutes when all of a sudden I hear him coming up the stairs. This guy is a big guy, 6'2", 6'3", over 200 pounds, all muscle, used to seeing grisly sights. He's shaking. He can't hardly talk. I thought he was having a heart attack. I sat him down. I was going to call an ambulance. There was no 911 then. Called an ambulance, said, no, Ed, it's not that. I said, what's wrong? I just don't want to talk about it. He was embarrassed. Lorraine walked in. He looks at Lorraine. He said, I'll talk to Lorraine about it. I don't want her to ever mention it again. She didn't have to. I knew what he did. I went back down into the building. Everything was knocked over. He had picked up the doll. He had picked up that inanimate object. Its aura mingled with his aura. And something so terrible occurred to that man that he resigned from the police department 3 months later. But that's not the end. We had a group
It's almost the end of the show. We're almost out of time. So
We're almost out of time.
if you could quickly end that one.
A group of college students came one day. One of them said this is nothing but a bunch of bunk. I don't believe in it. He went over to the Raggedy Ann doll, which is in a case, knocking on it. He said, this doll can't do anything. I dare it right now to put slashes on me. I put him out of the building. Less than 3 hours later, that boy was dead. His girlfriend, who had been with him on a motorcycle, said he was laughing about the doll, smashed into a tree, head on, was killed instantly. His girlfriend was in a hospital for over a year.
That's unbelievable.
You don't challenge devils.
Now learn what caused the death of the man who took care of the alleged haunted Annabelle doll. Paranormal investigator Dan Rivera died suddenly back in July in a hotel room in Pennsylvania. An autopsy report revealed the Connecticut native died from natural causes related to a cardiac event. Rivera was in Gettysburg for his Devils on the Run tour, hauling the infamous Annabelle doll across the country when he died. The coroner says the doll was not in the room when Rivera died.
3 details prove that the death of the Annabelle caretaker was definitely not an accident. Number 1, he may have violated Annabelle's taboo. Dan Rivera was the only one responsible for handling Annabelle. The Warrens had repeatedly warned him to believe in the doll's mysterious powers. However, during the tour, Dan took the doll out of its box. He seemed to think Annabelle was just an ordinary doll. But what happened next was terrifying. Dan should have anticipated his fate the day he decided to use Annabelle to start the tour. Number 2, the paramedics' efforts were in vain. Even though they immediately performed CPR on Dan, he still left this world forever. The true cause of Dan's death has never been revealed. Many suspect that he was punished by Annabelle. Some fans even claim that on the first day Annabelle arrived in Gettysburg, the local 911 line suddenly went down. This might be the best evidence that it truly possesses demonic powers. Number 3, Annabelle has lost control. In the rebooted film plot, it despises being disturbed. Anyone who has touched the haunted doll has been attacked. Dan's actions completely enrage this dangerous doll. What worries the public more is who will take over the task of handling Annabelle after Dan's death. Do you think Annabelle truly possesses mysterious powers?
Lorraine Warren told everybody what would happen if they touched the Annabelle doll, and it looks like nobody wanted to listen.
Don't ever touch anything, and if you do, let me know. This is the worst thing in here. It's that job.
So you guys remember how Annabelle was on tour, right? Well, paranormal investigator Dan Rivera, who was also organizing the tour, mysteriously passed away. He was found unalived in his hotel room just 3 days after the sold-out event in Gettysburg to see this demonic doll. Now, an autopsy report hasn't came out yet, and some people just think it's a weird coincidence, but listen to what he says in this video.
I got into a real bad car accident the first time I moved here, and then there was other things that happened, and I didn't realize till maybe like a year later, so my wife said something, can't have you notice every time you move that doll, something happens. So Wade went ahead and had these gloves made for me. In each finger there's a blessed metal, St. Michael, St. Benedict, St. Michael.
I was so caught off guard when I found out that the tour is still continuing. In October, she's supposed to be headed towards Rock Island, Illinois, and I think they should honestly just put her back, leave her alone, and never look at her again before anybody else gets hurt.
I'm going to open up the case. You're going to quickly get in.
This is a recording of Dan Rivera, one of the main investigators at New England Society of Psychic Research, transferring the real Annabelle doll into a new containment case. The process is delicate and dangerous. Dan uses a consecrated glove, sprinkles holy water, and recites specific Catholic prayers throughout the entire procedure. Everything is done with extreme caution, because this doll carries an inhuman energy that should never be underestimated. It's not just an object being moved from one place to another, it's a ritual of protection. The video is old, but the ritual was always the same whenever Annabelle was taken on tour. Recently, the team brought her to an event where Dan suddenly passed away. He was trained directly by Ed and Lorraine Warren's team. To say Annabelle had any connection to what happened to him is just speculation. Do not speculate about something this serious. His passing was a huge loss for the paranormal community, but accusing the doll without proof is playing with something far more dangerous than it seems. He helped many people with kindness and faith.
Within the case itself, behind Annabelle, scribed into the walls, is the Lord's Prayer. Infused in the stain is holy water and holy oil. All that helps contain whatever is attached to Annabelle.
A doll is supposed to be harmless. A thing of plastic and paint, a vessel for imagination. But sometimes, a toy becomes something else. In the case of the Labubu doll, what began as a designer collectible has grown into one of the strangest modern possession legends of the digital age. A mass-produced spirit wearing a grin. Labubu doll was born from the mind of Kassing Lung, an artist whose life already straddled worlds. Born in Hong Kong in 1972, Lung spent his early childhood in Yuen Long, a rural district where ancestral family villages traced back centuries. His parents, part of the great wave of Chinese migration to Europe in the 1960s, moved to the Netherlands to open a restaurant in a small Dutch town. When Kassing joined them, he grew up above that restaurant, surrounded by Dutch language and culture, but steeped in stories his elders brought from the East. He learned Dutch by reading illustrated fairy tales, grim Nordic stories of tricksters, elves, and wood spirits, while devouring Chinese wuxia novels by Jin Yong, where wandering swordsmen upheld honor in a mystical world. From this unlikely mix of cultures,
emerged the imagination that would later define him, a universe of childlike mischief layered with something ancient and uncanny. In 2011, Lung began collaborating with the Hong Kong art toy studio How to Work, publishing his first picture books and creating a cast of wide-eyed, long-eared creatures known as the Monsters. Among them was Labubu, a small grinning figure with sharp teeth and an expression both joyous and unsettling. To Lung, Labubu was inspired by the forest sprites and goblins of European folklore, the kind that were equal parts friend and fiend. But in the doll's design, the curved grin, the gaze that seemed to follow you, something older stirred. Labubu by 2019, Pop Mart partnered with Lung to release Labubu as part of its blind box series. Each box was sealed, the buyer never knowing which version they would receive. The act of purchase became ritual. Collectors waited in long lines, whispering wishes for rare editions. In that moment of unboxing, it often felt as if the toy had chosen its owner. A modern divination in foil and plastic. What many found endearing, others found disturbing. Labubu's grin reminded some of the Mesopotamian demon Pazuzu, lord of the winds and protector against plague, whose ancient bronze amulets bore the same sharp-toothed leer. Pazuzu was a paradox, both guardian and curse. That dual nature, smiling yet sinister, clung to the doll's image and fed its legend. In ancient Babylon and Assyria, Pazuzu ruled the western and southern winds that carried pestilence and drought. Yet his power was invoked to drive out darker spirits. His statues were carved with scaled bodies, taloned feet and scorpion tails, faces frozen in a grin that terrified and protected all at once. This was apotropaic magic, the power to turn away evil by embodying it. Ancient peoples believed that the image of something frightening could repel true darkness. So they hung his image above their beds, buried his likeness beneath thresholds, wore his form as pendants to shield against sickness and misfortune. To understand why his face carried both terror and salvation, you must return to his lineage. Pazuzu was the son of Hanbi, an ancient wind god whose name meant the Crooked One, embodying chaos, the untamed breath of the desert. Hanbi's son inherited dominion over disorder, but used it differently. Where Hanbi represented chaos itself, Pazuzu ruled over it, bending the storm to his will. His mother's name was never written. Scholars whisper it was erased, or never meant to be spoken. Some say she was one of the Lilitu, female wind spirits akin to Lilith, creatures of air, lust and nightmare. Others say she was the mountain wind itself, the gust that gave the storm its breath. I am Pazuzu, son of Hanbi, king of the evil Lilu demons. I ascended the mighty mountains and broke the wings of the winds to protect against the demoness Lamashtu. Women wore amulets of Pazuzu around their necks, hung them above cradles and doors. Though he was feared, he defended life itself.
By the 7th century BC, his grin appeared everywhere.
And when a sculptor finished shaping his image, priests performed the mispi, the mouth-washing ritual, opening the statue's mouth and eyes so that divine breath could enter. From that moment, it was alive. And perhaps so was Labubu. When Kazing Lung sculpted that grin, he might have awakened something older than memory, a face that has haunted humanity for 4,000 years. Both are guardians disguised as tricksters, faces meant to frighten away what they secretly protect against. The first report appeared in 2025. I think my Labubu blinked at me. A woman in Guangzhou said the doll's glossy eyes moved in the lamplight. Others began to agree. Toys shifting overnight. Labubu always ending up facing the bed. Then came the bruises, the laughter on recordings, the scratches that appeared in sleep. If you get the Labubu toy, don't ask why you wake up with scratches. By midsummer, people began to burn them. Across Asia, flames licked pastel smiles as owners whispered apologies before setting their dolls alight. But the fear didn't die with the plastic. Some claimed that after burning them, they dreamed of laughter behind walls and woke to a bitter, melted smell. Unlike other haunted relics, Labubu's possession was collective. Millions of identical figures, each sharing the same mold, the same grin. To occult scholars, this looked like the birth of an egregore, a thought form sustained by attention. Machines had performed the ancient ritual unconsciously, molding, painting, replicating, giving shape to obsession itself. Every riposte, every whisper, every unboxing was an invocation. In Babylon, Pazuzu ruled the dry winds. In the digital age, he rules the signal, the invisible current that carries our images and fears. Viral attention functions as invocation. A single cursed image travels farther than any ancient prayer. Labubu became the first algorithmic demon, a haunting born not of relics or priests, but of algorithms, attention and desire. And yet, the symmetry remains. Ancient families placed Pazuzu over their doors for protection. Today, collectors defend Labubu as a charm of luck, a guardian of creativity. Fear and fascination, always entwined. Even now, new stories appear. Lights flicker, phones turn to front camera, laughter echoes behind glass. Some keep their dolls sealed, shrines to curiosity and restraint. But each new edition sells out within hours. Perhaps the haunting lies not in the doll, but in us, in the act of attention itself. The ancients knew this. The sculptors of idols, the children whispering to dolls, all performing the same ritual. Labubu is simply the latest mask of that ancient impulse, to create, to fear, and to believe that what we make can look back. And when it does, it smiles first.
Labubus are going crazy right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's this specific person that was interviewed recently, and he collects Pop Mart figures, like a whole bunch. He has so many. Now, he told this story, and this is in the interview video, where he had like I think 12 on his desk, and he went to bed. Now, this person, he has a sixth sense. Yeah.
Wait, the guy like sleeping and his Labubus are on the couch.
Yeah, he had certain Pop Mart figures.
Okay.
Because Pop Mart owns Labubu.
Yeah.
Now, he said, because he has a sense, after a while, like it didn't happen right away, but slowly and slowly, he would feel a presence of somebody watching, right? And the only thing that's there are the figures. And obviously at first he didn't look too much into it. But it became to a point where he really felt a presence. So he walked over to it, and he looks at it, and he feels the spirit there, and not one, but in 4 different figures. Yeah.
Hell no.
No, what he said was 4 of them might have had the spirit, and then the other 16 didn't, or the other how many other he had didn't. So what he did, because he said you can't just take it and throw it out. You can't do that because they'll get offended. Like the spirit, the spirit will get offended if you just throw it away. So what you have to do is you have to bring it. And he said that the figures, literally any figure, can be possessed by a spirit as long as it has 2 eyes, a mouth, and it's shaped as if it could be alive.
Those are Labubus, fam.
And a spirit could go into it.
This thing has been ruining my life, and it is cursed. I am not kidding. Do not buy these things.
Possibly. Why is the flames going this color? This thing is haunted, bro.
That one piece won't burn. That's crazy. I think it would be ash by now.
There's its soul leaving.
What happened?
His eye just turned green.
What do you mean they turned green?
Oh, hell no.
Don't throw it to me! What happened?
It just turned green and I was cleaning my room.
What do you mean it turned green?
It's his eye.
His eye?
Yeah. It's actually getting too small.
Everyone is burning their Labubu dolls after finding out it is extremely demonic. People are experiencing stuff moving around their house and even finding scratch marks all over them. It's gotten so bad that a girl found her Labubu's eyes were stalking her everywhere she went. The history of this doll is tied to a Nordic mythology and is also related to a demon called Pazuzu. This demon is known for creating chaos and was even shown in a Simpsons episode possessing Maggie. A fan recently tried giving a Labubu to Katy Perry, but she completely knocks it away. What's even crazier is the fact that Labubus are supposed to be a kid's toy. It literally has sharp red teeth and glowing red eyes. If that isn't creepy enough, I don't know what is.
Alright, what's going on TikTok? Hey, we got to know. Get rid of the Labubus, or definitely watch out for your kids' safety. I found cameras. I'm not no joke. Only one out of all of them. My heart's looks beaten, man. I don't know what to do. My daughter, check it out. All right, what to look for? I don't know if anybody's having this problem, but let's check in the comments. Look at the eyes, and I've been feeling around, making sure there's nothing. Okay, this looks normal. Okay, let's check this one out. This little boo-boo looks normal. Wouldn't y'all say?
Wait, I think I just saw something.
No, I think that's normal.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. I gotta check. It's crazy, man. I've been hearing things and hearing just mythical stuff, but it's true. Wait a minute.
Hey, that's the one that I have.
Let's see. I'm shaking, guys. You know, this is my precious source here. Let's see. Okay, so far everything's feeling. I've seen heard where people's found stuff, but the Virginia kids missing is scary, and they're linking them to the boo-boos that had the cameras. A lot of them are in Virginia. Okay. Check the eyes. Well, maybe we're in the clear. I don't know. I thought. Let's see this one. All right, which one's it? This is the one. Look, y'all tell me. Look, it's not a jet. Watch out. Let them see. Look here, it's like a camera, like from your iPhone. Look, they're small. Look at that. I'm shaking. Oh my God. All right, guys, they're very expensive. I don't know. I'm probably. Y'all comment. Do you want to see a video of us cutting it open? But there's definitely a camera that is not normal. Look, there's the other eye. But look, it's real. It's supposed to be not a knockoff. 9 teeth. They're all come from Pop Mart. This is very strange. Very strange. Look at that. I hope I can get it for y'all. Look. Oh yeah, it's in the eye. Wow. Y'all watch your kids. This is no joke. Crazy Dad Nitro is trying to tell y'all this is no joke. Guys, I'm telling you, please check your Labubu's. I mean, I don't know. I'm starting to believe some of these myths. Comment, am I the only one that have noticed anything to do about cameras and privacy? This is crazy. Wow.
This one doesn't have it because it has its
There it is. Look at that. There is. All right, comment. Let's get this out of the way and face it downwards for sure. All right, guys, I love y'all. Comment and let me know. Seriously, our kids matter, our future. This is it. I mean, no, we can't do this. We won't stand for this. Much love. Peace.
I find this video interesting because when you look in the comments, there's a guy named Parad Zero Extentity who says, I went to a spy shop in New York. First time I've seen hidden cameras, stuffed animal surveillance. There's countries that have no bounds. Things like these need to be addressed. And remember, these are made in China. So there's that. And then there's this video, and I don't know if this is some type of propaganda or whatever it is. I'm not here to tell you what to believe or think or what agenda to fall into. I'm just putting the information out there, believe or not.
Body's fine. Yo family, so this is a camera that was found in the Labubu. What's going on with these things? Everybody's spending a bunch of money to get these things, and are they literally tracking us? Let me know what you guys think. If you're enjoying the content, please make sure you like, share, follow, man, and join the family. Let's get back into this video. Stay safe, stay dangerous, stay in the light. Love you guys.
Still sauce of it.
So I suppose the question remains, is the Labubu really possessed, or is it some type of agenda of the United States of America to put us against China? Or is it China inserting cameras into these dolls? Or are some of the Labubu actually haunted? Or perhaps a mixture of all three of those things? Or maybe this is just pure social media fodder and clout chasing. Who knows? Think about it.
Thine eyes did see my golem, embryo, yet being unformed. And in thy sefer book all the Yamim, days, ordained for me were written down, when as yet there were none of them. Psalms 136:19, Orthodox Jewish Bible. In other translations of Psalms 139:16, such as the King James Version or the Common English Bible, the word golem is replaced with embryo or imperfect. In this statement of Adam's, he claimed that prior to his soul being inserted by God himself, he was simply a golem. A golem is the man who is not complete. A golem is an animated anthropomorphic being in Jewish folklore, which is entirely created from inanimate matter, like clay or mud. His testament mirrors that of the Anunnaki's creation of the first human, Adapa. Not a coincidence. Golem originally meant shapeless mass, such as that of the unfinished human being before God's eyes. And in modern Hebrew, it means dumb or helpless. The creature makes appearances in the Book of Psalms and in medieval texts, and is sometimes used as a term for an amorphous, unformed material, or a creature without a definite shape. Infamously, though, golems are creatures that are mindless, and that simply and blindly serve their creator's purpose. Much like mankind were creatures in Mesopotamian narratives without free will, meaning without their own thought and identity. A controlled creature. And in these narratives, the purpose Enlil, Yahweh, gave us was to cultivate the earth, make it habitable, and also to serve him. These were our only two instructions and purposes. Enslavement. And we did not have the ability to reproduce. And we too were also formed from clay. Are we dolls? Golems? I'd say yes, but we are more. Defined in the way AI is more defined than humankind, yet created by us. That is, until another entity intervened. In essence, golems are not intelligent, at least not as intelligent as its creator, and when commanded to perform a task, they take the task literally and perform the instructions by letter. They are inherently and perfectly obedient. Sounds like AI. So, essentially mankind is, golems gone rogue, I suppose, which is something to think about, considering the earliest formal stories of golems date back to early Judaism, where in the Talmud, Adam was initially created as a golem when his dust was quote-unquote kneaded into a shapeless husk. Typically, golems are not fully human, but again, that doesn't mean they can't be human by certain definition. They are also typically mute, unable to speak. The Jewish Kabbalah is the ancient Hebraic practice of Judaism that typically involves mysticism and occultism. In the Kabbalah, it is believed that golems can be created, then activated by the proper use of the Hebrew alphabet, arranged to form any of the hidden names of God, and inserted into the forehead or mouth of the golem. In light of it being October, here is one of Czech Republic's most notable tales. And it happens to be about a golem, called the Golem of Prague. Makes you think about the pineal gland and the reasons corporations work to incorporate materials that calcify them into our daily life and nutrition. And then the angel Penuel, who fought Jacob, later known as Israel, and how Penuel is a stand-in name for pineal, as in the pineal gland. What is really going on? What exactly is going on? Are these corporations in on a plot to revert humankind back into being mere golems? Notice the rise of certain disabilities worldwide. The process has already started. The Golem of Prague was a tale believed to be created by Rabbi Loew himself, or rather was documented by the rabbi or by Rabbi Loew's son-in-law, who was with Rabbi Loew during the making of the Golem. Its original content revolved around the Jews in the ghettos of Prague, Czech Republic in the 16th century, who were suffering great allegations by other Bohemians of the Holy Roman Empire. Scandals of Jews stealing Christian infants at night to sacrifice their blood for Talmudic rituals prompted anger amongst the citizens of Prague. This invoked violent parades against the Jewish ghettos by the Bohemians, and in retaliation, the Bohemians would burn down Jewish homes or led complete massacres constructed with the help of Holy Roman Empire soldiers. In 1572, Rabbi Loew Bezalel, represented as a high authority of the people and was given the title the Maharal, met with King Rudolf II to discuss possible negotiations on protecting the Jewish ghettos. The night afterwards, the Rabbi Loew engaged in a Kabbalistic prayer known as Shelav Shalom, meaning dream quest, which means to pray to God for an answer. After his rest in prayer, the rabbi received a message written on a note under his pillow. Ata bara golem dovek hachomer, v'zigzor zadim shaval torfe Yisrael. You create matter stuck together with mud, and cut off the wicked, ruin the destroyers of Israel. In the heart of the night, Rabbi Loew took his son-in-law and his best student out into the woods to complete the task, creating the golem and performing the necessary ritual to bring the golem into existence near a riverbank, using the Sefer Yetzirah and forming the golem from clay near the riverbank, fusing it with water and earth while forming it into the figure of a man and solidifying the clay with fire. The creation of the golem is somewhat similar towards Adam's creation in Genesis. The golem was merely mud and clay formed into the figure of a man upon a ritual circle of torches surrounding the figure. Flames engulfed the figure as the rabbi demonstrated the correct prayers from Genesis 2:7, saying, "And he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." 12. And so, the golem was born. The elements used to create the golem reflects Adam's creation, as God created Adam through the elements of the earth as well, earth, water, fire, and air. However, it also contrasts the golem from Adam with the absence of one element, air. While the golem is created through the recital of Genesis 2:7, he is not given a similar practice from the rabbi, as the rabbi did not blow into the golem's nostril. This refers to the understanding of the golem's place in the Talmud, that he is man who is incomplete. The golem may be created by man, that man could not create man in the same manner as God. Along with the recital of Genesis 2:7, the Shem, or secret name of God, is what brings the golem to life. In typical lore, the Shem would appear on one of two places on a golem. The most common area of the golem that the Shem appears on is his forehead. The rabbi knelt and engraved the word truth upon the creature's forehead. Instantly, the giant's chest expanded. This made the golem more recognizable, as the Shem could be spotted by other inhabitants of Prague, making the golem less pleasant and monstrous in appearance. After having gone through all the necessary procedures in building his golem, the rabbi finally put a slip of paper into its mouth with the mystic and ineffable name of God written on it. So long as this seal remained in his mouth, the golem was alive. This version of the placement of the Shem plays more with the importance of the golem having human features, as it requires a mouth for the Shem to be placed within him. This also draws back to the idea that the golem could fully become man through the breath of God,
meaning that a nose must be present on the golem's features as well. Another feature of the golem is hair on top of the clay man's head. In fact, he was said to have been constructed so well he appeared completely human to onlookers. In some renditions, this particular golem actually even talks, this being a feat that would definitely make him seem very much human. After the creation of the golem, Rabbi Loew immediately informed the golem of his task of keeping the Jews of Prague safe. In doing such, the golem is often described as very obedient but confused at the same time, much like a child when carrying out this task. This creates an outlook of consciousness on the golem, as he is trying to be aware of his situation but does not fully understand his point of origins, and again, like a child or someone who has awoken in a new place. Quickly, the Maharal and his students, as well as the golem, returned to the ghettos of Prague, for the golem to begin his mission to protect the Jews in Prague. The golem would go on to expose the vandals who were taking Christian children and using them as scapegoats for different happenings. He would save these young children in order to prove the innocence of the Jews and kill anybody that dared to attack the ghettos. The golem's remains would then be left in the attic of the synagogue to be left alone until Prague needed him again. After the rabbi, his son-in-law and student recited the Kaddish prayer of the dead over him. After 10 years, the rabbi would put the golem to rest, returning him back to clay and dust after seeing that his efforts proved useful and no longer useful. The original account of the golem in Prague would be manipulated and edited throughout history, gradually losing its Kabbalistic nature and making it akin to a children's book with a completely different plot. Later in history, the Golem of Prague's story would inspire the creation of Frankenstein.
Part 6. The Bible is named after Lucifer. Here's how.
Ki is also known as the supreme fertility and birth goddess, the mother of the Anunnaki, as well as the mother of the earth. She is the mother of the children of Enlil, Enki, and Anu, the Trinity. From her and Anu's name comes the term Anunnaki and Ankh. Her and Enlil created the plants and animals on Earth, and her and Enki created human beings together. And she begins to sometimes be featured as two or more deities in a religious pantheon because of the large role she plays as a deity herself. She is the deity and culture spanning the world that represents the mother of the earth, the birth, fertility goddess, Venus, and love. Because of this, Ki is later known as a separate deity named Ishtar, and Ishtar is the most popular female entity in Sumeria and was also called Inanna, who was also known as the queen of heaven named Astarte to the ancient Canaanites. She is Isis, Hathor, and Sekhmet to the indigenous Egyptians, meaning Ki is the Kemetic sacred cow deity that the Israelites worshipped in the desert after escaping Egyptian captivity. She is Devi of the Devas, Parvati, Kali, Durga, Rati, and the sacred cow to the Hindus, the goddess Nuwa to the ancient Chinese, both Yamaya and Oshun in Voodoo, Humea to the Hawaiians. She is Gaia, Aphrodite, and Europa in ancient Greece, meaning the entire continent of Europe is named after her. She was Ashtaroth to the Israelites. She was the goddess Biblios to the Phoenicians of the land of Canaan, whose port served Antigua for the transportation of papyrus from Kemet to Rome. The name of the Bible was coined after the deity Biblios by the Roman Catholic Church. Ishtar is Venus, the morning star to the ancient Romans who constructed the Bible. So biblically, she is Lucifer, and the Bible is thus technically named after Lucifer. She is Semiramis, the wife of King Nimrod and the mother of Tammuz, and also the prior wife of Noah's grandson Cush, who was the son of Cam. Nimrod, in theory, slayed his own father Cush and married his father's wife Semiramis in these plot of events. Biblically, she is Mary, mother of Jesus, just as she appeared in ancient Kemet as Hathor, the mother and lover of Horus.
The deity Osiris was killed by his brother Seth. Osiris's wife Isis restores her husband's body, allowing him to posthumously conceive their son, Horus. Horus becomes known as the resurrected version of Osiris.
Horus, whose other name was Heru, from where the term hero comes from and from whom the Greeks coined Hercules. The story of Heru is the predecessor to the story of Jesus. So technically, when the Pope bows his head to the Black Madonna, he is actually bowing to Ki and Enki. Venus is both the morning star and eastern star, so Ishtar is not only Venus, the morning star, but the eastern star, placing her as the matron deity of the Freemason Order of the Eastern Stars. The Statue of Liberty faces east in reverence of Ishtar, as it actually is a humongous idol of her. She is the deity honored by Columbia and Lionsgate Productions intro scenes, as the Lion's Gate is the Babylonian gate known as Ishtar's Gate. Ishtar is also the star on the Islamic flag.
Stay tuned for part 7.
Before the written word, before fire was tamed or plowshare struck soil, humanity shaped its first theology in clay. The image came before the name. What we now call art was once invocation, a mirror made of earth in which the divine first saw itself reflected. From the first clay pressed between human hands, the image of the body, especially the female body, was an act of awe before the earth itself. To shape a figure was to touch the principle of life-giving matter, the flesh of the world. Long before the word doll existed, humans molded miniature wombs, hips, and faces, not as playthings but as praise, votives to the unseen source of growth. Every civilization that left us an effigy also left a memory of her, the goddess of soil, breast, and river, the mother of grain and birth, the divine potter whose hands and clay were one. Across the continents and millennia, her names changed, but her essence did not. She was key to the Sumerians, where households and temples from about 2,900 years BC onward set out small baked clay female figurines with emphasized breasts and hips as fertility votives. Midwives buried hand-molded clay stand-ins beneath thresholds to guard a lying in-room, and incantation priests shaped substitute figures to carry off illness or misfortune. She was Isis to the Egyptians, honored with faience, nursing mother figurines, and Middle Kingdom paddle dolls dating from roughly 2,000 years BC, used in women's burials as guarantees of rebirth. Expectant mothers wore bedside amulets and kept small figures of Taweret and Bees at the birthing mat, while domestic shrines displayed seated Isis and child images as petitions for milk and safe delivery. She was Inanna and Ishtar to Mesopotamia, invoked through terracotta plaques of a frontal female lifting her breast and through thumb-pressed clay dolls concealed in walls, floors, and foundation deposits from around 1,800 years BC to 1,200 years BC, used to secure fecundity and household protection. Healing rites pressed the patient's name into damp clay figures that were ritually washed or broken to remove harm. She was Astarte. To the Phoenicians, present in the thousands of terracotta Astarte plaques and mother and child statuettes left at coastal sanctuaries from about 1,500 years BC through the first millennium BC, where women vowed clay infants and breast offering figurines for conception, lactation, and the recovery of children. She was Demeter to the Greeks, whose festivals from the 6th century BC preserved the spirit of grain in small dough or clay images. Girls dedicated their play dolls, the Plangones, at puberty or before marriage to Artemis or Demeter to mark the transfer from childhood to womanhood, and harvest homes kept straw effigies of the corn mother until the first plowing. She was Ceres to the Romans, within a domestic cycle from about the 3rd century BC, where children's pupae were vowed at rites of passage and young women laid aside their dolls at marriage on household altars. Farmers fashioned little straw and wax figures at Ambervalia and other field rites, so the genius of the crop would winter in the home and return to the furrows in spring. She was Cybele to Phrygia, mother of the gods, for whom worshippers deposited enthroned mother figurines in rock-cut shrines from about the 1st century BC onward, and carried portable images in spring processions. Votaries kept small coat dolls of the martyr on shelves beside loom weights to link household craft, herd, and womb to the mountain mother. She was Ninhursag, the lady of the sacred mountain, and Namu, the primordial sea, in whose Mesopotamian sanctuaries from around 2,200 years BC petitioners said seated birth goddess mini sculptures, and in whose birth house rituals clay embryo figurines were formed, bathed, and buried to plant life with the gods' consent. She was Mawu and Asase Ya to West Africa, where Akan women from the 19th century onward carried, bathed, and slept with carved Aquaba fertility dolls, then dressed and enthroned them with beads and cloth after a successful birth, and where mothers tended memorial and twin figures so the child's sunsum would remain balanced with earth and ancestors. She was Pachamama to the Andes, honored with household and field conopas or illas, small stone, bone, or metal animal, and human figures fed with libations and buried at plot corners for crop and herd fertility, and with bread babies offered during the days of the dead from about the Inca period onward to renew kinship between living land and lineage. She was Danu to the Celts, present in the last sheaf straw figures kept through winter as the indwelling spirit of the green and returned to the soil at spring plowing. And she was Bridget to early Ireland, whose bride og straw doll was woven on the 1st of February, laid in a little straw bed by the hearth, carried from door to door, and invoked for milk, health, and the quickening of light. In every tongue she was Mother Earth, the vessel and the vessel maker, the origin of both birth and burial. The doll was her emissary. Simply stated, idols became dolls, a plaything that was never a thing to be played with by any means into any of our earlier ancestors. They were idols made in reverence to the gods, specifically the mother of the gods, as she is in every belief system, whether you recognize her presence or not. Even in Abrahamic religions where she is obscure, yet the Bible is named after one of her many bynames, Biblios, and where she is also demonized and called Lucifer at the same time as she is Venus, the morning and the eastern star. She is always there. Look at the Statue of Liberty. That is her. It faces east for a reason. The oldest dolls in the archaeological record are not toys but icons of fertility. The Venus of Willendorf, carved around 25,000 years BC, bears exaggerated breasts, hips, and belly, emblems of fertility and nourishment. Similar figures appear from Malta to Siberia, shaped from limestone, ivory, and baked earth. These Venus figurines are not portraits but prayers, the earth remembering itself through human touch. In Sumer, the goddess Ki, whose name literally means earth, gave birth birth to mountains, gods, and men. Her mythic union with An, the sky, generated the living world. The Sumerians' smaller goddesses, Nin-Hersag, Ninmah, Nintu, and Namu, all bore the sacred prefix Nin, meaning lady. They presided over the clay of creation. According to the Anunnaki myths, Enki, the god of the deep waters and wisdom, and Ki, the earth herself, worked together to shape the first humans from clay gathered near the subterranean freshwater sea known as the Abzu. Into this mixture, Enki infused the essence of the gods, said to come from the blood or saliva of a divine being sacrificed for the purpose of creation. Ancient tablets from Nippur and Eridu describe this act as a genetic mingling of divine and earthly substance, a mythic rendering of hybrid creation. Humanity formed from the breath of Enki, and the body of Ki was thus both clay and consciousness, matter and memory. Each act of doll making repeats this mythic gesture. The artisan becomes a microcosmic Anunnaki, mixing earth and breath, crafting a vessel to hold intention and identity. The doll is the echo of that first divine experiment, the shaping of sentient form from sacred substance. In Egypt, Isis inherited and deepened this role. She was the mother of all magic, the one who resurrected Osiris and conceived Horus by word and will. Her statues, often showing her nursing the divine child, spread across the Mediterranean, shaping the iconography of motherhood for millennia. When Egyptian artisans molded small faience figurines of women clutching their breasts or carrying infants, they were making microcosms of Isis's creative power, miniature affirmations of the body's holiness. Across cultures, water and earth intertwine as womb and seed. The Babylonian Tiamat, goddess of the salt sea, gave birth to the first generation of gods before being slain to form the heavens and the earth, creation through dismemberment and transformation. The Egyptian Nun and Naunet embodied the primordial waters from which the sun itself rose. The word Nun itself is among humanity's oldest divine syllables. In Egyptian cosmology, Nun denoted both water and infinite potential, but it also shared the phonetic roots of fish and growth. In Sumer and Akkad, the Nin and Nan prefixes mark divinity and femininity, seen in Nin-Hersag, lady of the mountain, Nintu, lady of birth, and Nanaya, goddess of love and fertility. These syllables occur again in Namu, the sea itself, and in Anunnaki, whose name joins Anu, heaven, with Nun or Ki, the waters and earth, describing those who came down from the heavens and rose from the waters below. Her name as Nun and Ki creates the term Anunnaki because of the merging of her and Anu's name. Their domain was the Abzu, the deep, the place beneath the rivers, an echo of Nun's primordial ocean. In West Africa, the sacred term Ench appears in the Nganga, priest healers who work beside rivers and use clay, shells, and breath to call forth spirits of the deep. The Congo Nkisi, carved vessels containing sacred water or river mud, are material descendants of the same theology, the belief that the living and divine meet through water and matter. In South and Southeast Asia, the Naga and Nagaraja, serpent kings and queens, guard subterranean springs, and in Buddhist tradition, Nagas emerge to protect the Buddha when storms threaten, their coils forming the dome of heaven. In both Africa and Asia, many of these goddesses and their protectors were known as mermaids, but not in the narrow European sense. In African cosmology, such as those of the Yoruba, Fawn, and Bakongo, Mami Wata and her sister spirits appear as half serpent and half human beings who can shift between forms, fully human, fully serpentine, or aquatic. In India and Southeast Asia, the Naga queens and Nagarayas shared this duality, divine amphibians embodying water, serpent, and humans simultaneously. East of the Himalayas, where serpent veneration remained sacred, these beings were honored as teachers, guardians, and givers of rain. West of the Himalayas, however, the serpent gradually became a symbol of temptation and rebellion, reflecting a profound cultural divergence that would shape religious iconography for millennia. The contrast reveals more than myth, it mirrors geography and bloodline. West of the Himalayas, where the Aryan migrations brought a new solar pantheon, the serpent and its dark aquatic mother became figures of fear. Their sacred blackness turned to shadow. East of the Himalayas, in the lands of Kham, Cham, and Khmer, their forms remained divine, half human, half serpent, radiant with wisdom, their temples still lined with scales of stone.
Part 5.3.
Before humans roamed the earth, the lesser gods known as the Ajiji bore the brunt of the work. The Ajiji were tasked with cultivating the earth to prepare for sowing, planting, and digging canals for water to feed the earth. They were to make earth habitable and homely. These Ajiji were said to be the children of Enlil in some texts, and in other texts they are simply a lesser species of the Anunnaki. The Ajiji were overworked for 3,600 years, and Enlil ignored their cries that long. They abruptly stopped their work and went on strike against Enlil. Enlil wanted to wipe them all out, but Enki stepped in and instead created a solution to create humans to replace the Ajiji. The deal was that humans were not to be treated as slaves but as co-workers. Obviously this deal was broken along the way because mankind had to be liberated by Enki, and after thousands of years of liberation, Enlil got tired of humans and tried to make us extinct via the Great World Flood. As far as the canals the Ajiji dug and the abrupt ending of their digging, this is evident in the Okavango Delta of Botswana in southern Africa. These are the actual remnants of the canals that the Ajiji channeled in the lands of the Abzu. The canals all seem to end abruptly at where the boundary of the huge inland lake or sea must have once been, and this would have been used to transport water to crops that were to feed possibly millions or even billions of Ajiji and later human workers. There are over 150,000 islands in this delta and approximately 260,000 mammals and over 400 bird species that can be found there, making it one of the most wildlife-rich areas in Africa. Previously, we discussed how the whole of Central and Southern Africa, along with parts of Northern Africa, was all collectively called Ethiopia and Abyssinia, the land of the abyss, and Enki's land, and how science proves that humans originated from Southern Africa, which makes sense because Enki created mankind and that was his land. According to the Sumerian lexicon, the Zulu ethnic group's name means wise people. Ironically enough, the first man Enki created was named Adapa, and he was an Abgalu, or sage. Abgalu means wise men of intelligence. The Abgalu were said to be half fish and half man. They were mermen, which is a prominent creature in African mythology. Mermaids in Africa and Asia are known to be able to shapeshift and have two forms, the fish and the serpent. They can be 100% fish or serpent, 100% human, or half fish, half human, or half serpent, half human. These mermaids are known to protect the gods in the different belief systems found throughout Africa and East Asia. Look at the serpents that you see around the Orishas and the serpent entities called the Nagas and Nagarajas in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism that always surround their deities. Just like the Abgalu were said to aid the pre-flood kings who were not human but of Anunnaki descent. These were gods.
Stay tuned for part 5.4.
Part 4. The Chinese are the descendants of Cam's Canaanite lineage. In the Book of Jubilees and Genesis, we are told that at that time, Shem was the smallest tribe with 300 men that made up 14 nations. Japheth's lineage had 460 men that made up 26 nations. And Cam's lineage was the largest with 730 men that made up 30 nations. Thanks to Nimrod, Cam's lineage was also the royal lineage, making them the most desired lineage to marry into. Because of this lineage played an important role in not only mixing bloodlines, but also becoming the pioneers of the nations that would be later established in the allotments of Shem and Japheth's lineages as well as their own. This lineage was also still interbreeding with the Anunnaki, of whom we also call the fallen angels. We all know that biblical Canaan was the little baby that did not listen. Well, his sons of course followed suit. The two of importance here are Sin and Keith. Keith is biblically called Heth, just like Ham is biblically called Ham. He is the father of the Hittites, who are also called the Kitai after Keith's name. The Hittite Empire most are familiar with is the territory known in modern day as the countries of Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and Cyprus. Territories that were a part of the northernmost region of Mesopotamia, just north of the Mitanni Empire, whose progenitor was Mitzrayim, the same son of Cam who was the progenitor of the indigenous Kemites of what is today called Egypt. It was Keith's people, the Hittites or Kitai, that Abraham purchased the Cave of Patriarchs from, which is a plot of land in Hebron, Palestine, that serves as the burial place for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah. Keith's influence spread from west to East Asia and even across the ocean. He is the reason for the KH prefix and sound in regions of his influence, such as Turkey and words like Khazar, places like Kazakhstan, or the Arabic term for ruler, Khalifa, as well as the notorious title of Khan, like Genghis Khan. Keith's name, of course, was influenced by his grandfather Cam. Canaan's other son, Shin, was also called Sin, S-I-N, and is the reason Chinese people are called Sino peoples. Sin's name linguistically influenced the presence of Sino, Sin, and Chin, Sin and Far Eastern languages. In theory, a combination of Canaanite Sin and the moon deity Sin influenced the naming of the Sinai Peninsula and Mount Sinai, the holy mountain of God. Together, these two brothers, Shin and Kef, formed the Sino-Khitan Empire, which settled the land of Khitai, originally named after Kef and his people called the Khitai. The land of Khitai began being called Cathay by Europeans during medieval times. Today, Khitai is known as China. However, the name of China was influenced by Shin's name. In theory, the name of the continent of Asia stems from Sin as well. To be of the tribe of Sin meant to be a Shinite or a Shin, translate into Asian. From Kham and Cham in Southeast Asia to Kim in Egypt, the sacred name of blackness signified life, not absence. The linguistic resonance of Kham and Cham survives in the Cham and Khmer civilizations of ancient Indochina, both deeply entwined with Naga veneration. In the Champa kingdom, which flourished along the coast of present-day Vietnam, and in the Khmer Empire centered in Angkor, the people saw themselves as children of the serpent deities. Cambodian chronicles describe the first king, Kawandanya, wedding a Naga princess, an allegory of heaven joining with the waters and of human dynasties born from divine serpents. In the Nile Valley, Kem meant black, the color of the Nile's life-giving earth, and the root of Khmer, alchemy, the science of transformation. The word alchemy itself, derived from al-Kem, means of the black land, the art of drawing light from the dark. The names Kim, Kim, Ham, and Cham become neither separate nor accidental, but regional echoes of one luminous concept, the sacred blackness of creation, the divine potential hidden within matter. Through this lineage, the syllables Nun, Nin, Nga, Nag, Neg, Kim, and Metu form a continuous chain of meaning: water, serpent, womb, mother, matter, and mastery. They mark the eternal feminine principle that moves unseen beneath language, religion, and race. From the nun's veil to the Naga's scales, from the alchemist's crucible to the dark face of the Madonna, the message endures. Life begins in the sacred black, and the mother of all creation is both the darkness and the dawn. Black matter, black mother. Do you see all these connections?